On January 10th, 2025, BlackRock's latest quarterly report revealed something that should terrify every precious metals investor in America. While gold hit record highs of $2,700 per ounce, and silver bugs celebrated their $50 by summer. Predictions: institutional investors quietly dumped $4.2 billion in precious metals ETFs, the largest quarterly outflow since 2013. But here's what they're not telling you on those YouTube channels with guys pointing at silver bars. I've been prepping for 15 years, survived the 2008 crash with my wealth intact, and I'm going to tell you something that'll make the gold bugs lose their minds. When everything actually collapses, that silver stack in your safe might be worth less than the Costco toilet paper you panic bought in 2020. I'm Rumble, and today I'm going to show you what actually preserves wealth when systems fail, because I've studied every major collapse in modern history, and the answer isn't what the precious metals dealers want you to believe. Look, I need to tell you something that's going to make every silver stacker on YouTube absolutely lose it. For the last decade, the prepper community has been sold a narrative that sounds bulletproof on paper. Stack silver, buy gold, preserve your wealth when fiat collapses. The precious metals industry pulls in nearly $4 billion a year in the US alone, and every major financial channel with over 500,000 subscribers will tell you to allocate 10 to 30% of your portfolio to these shiny metals. I believed it too, at first. But here's the problem with this advice. It assumes a very specific type of collapse, one where currencies gradually devalue but systems keep functioning. But that's not what history shows us. Let me take you to Venezuela between 2016 and 2019. Hyperinflation hit 1,000,000% in 2018. The bolivar became worthless overnight. Everyone said gold and silver would be the solution, right? Wrong. For the average Venezuelan trying to survive, precious metals became effectively worthless for daily transactions. You know what actually worked? US dollars, fuel, food stockpiles, and medications. Or look at Weimar Germany in the early 1920s. Yes, gold held value internationally. But if you were a regular citizen in Berlin trying to buy bread, that gold bar couldn't help you. Farmers with food had infinitely more practical wealth than city bankers with gold coins. The street currency became cigarettes, alcohol, and preserved foods. Then there's Argentina in 2001. Banks froze every account. The peso collapsed 75% in a single night. People with gold couldn't buy groceries because stores didn't want precious metals. They wanted actual goods. Barter networks emerged around practical items, not shiny metal. Here's what I've learned studying every major collapse in modern history. There are 3 types of scenarios. Type 1 is currency collapse with functioning institutions, like Argentina or Iceland in 2008. Precious metals perform okay here, but foreign currency performs better. Type 2 is total system breakdown, Venezuela style, or Somalia in 1991. This is where precious metals become completely illiquid and impractical. Consumables and skills become the real wealth. Type 3 is gradual decline, which is what most preppers plan for. But Type 2 is what actually threatens modern systems, and that's what nobody wants to admit. Let me hit you with the hard evidence that precious metals dealers don't want you to see. In a true collapse, you can't eat silver or gold. After the Turkish earthquake in 2023, I watched survivors trading jewelry for water, medicine, and shelter. Gold buyers disappeared immediately. There was no infrastructure to verify authenticity or weight. Practical goods traded at 10 to 50 times their pre-crisis value. In Syrian civil war zones from 2015 to present, gold dealers shut down completely. Precious metals became dead weight for refugees who needed to move fast. Then there's the denomination problem that nobody talks about. 1 ounce of gold is worth $2,700 right now. How exactly do you buy bread with that? How do you make change from a gold coin? Even silver rounds at $32 per ounce are still too valuable for small daily transactions in a collapse scenario. History shows us that collapsing economies need smaller denomination trade goods. Cigarettes work in prison economies because they're consistent units of value. Instant coffee packets became currency in Venezuela between 2017 and 2019. Ammunition serves as money in rural collapse zones. These are divisible, practical, and universally desired. Here's something that should terrify every silver bug. Precious metals attract violence in lawless scenarios. After Hurricane Katrina in 2005, home invasions specifically targeted safes and valuables. If you have to evacuate quickly, carrying 20 pounds of silver is completely impractical. In Argentina's 2001 collapse, armed robberies hit jewelry stores and gold dealers within the first 72 hours. Want more proof? Look at March 2020 during the COVID panic. What actually sold out everywhere? Toilet paper, canned goods, ammunition, and hand sanitizer. Not precious metals. Gold dealers had plenty of stock. There was zero panic buying of silver. It remained available throughout the entire pandemic. When Sri Lanka's economy collapsed in 2022, citizens rioted over fuel and food shortages. Gold markets became completely irrelevant as government confiscation concerns mounted. Cooking gas cylinders traded at 400% premiums. Now I know what you're thinking. But rumble. Central banks are buying gold. China, Russia, and India purchased over 1,100 tons in 2024. True, but that's nation-state strategy, not personal survival. They're hedging currency systems, not preparing for societal collapse. Individual citizens in those same countries stockpile completely different assets for actual survival. So what actually preserves wealth when systems fail? Let me break down what 15 years of research and real-world observation has taught me. First tier is consumable necessities, the real wealth. Water filtration systems like LifeStraw or Sawyer filters increase exponentially in value during infrastructure failure. In Mariupol in 2022, Ukrainians traded gold jewelry for water filters. Food with long shelf life becomes currency itself. Rice, beans, wheat, and honey never expire. Freeze-dried meals last 25 to 30 years. In Venezuela during 2018, 1 kilogram of rice cost 5,000 bolivars, which was an entire month's average salary. Medical supplies turn into gold. Antibiotics, pain relievers, wound care supplies. In Syrian rebel zones back in 2016, a single dose of amoxicillin traded for $50 equivalent. Energy sources matter desperately. During the Texas winter storm in 2021, propane tanks sold for $200 when they normally cost $40. Second tier is trade goods, your collapse currency. Alcohol preserves indefinitely and works as a universal trade good across all cultures. It has medical applications as a disinfectant. In Russia during the 1990s, vodka became the unofficial currency. Tobacco products, especially cigarettes, are perfectly divisible units of value. Their addictive nature ensures constant demand. After World War II in Germany, cigarettes became more valuable than Reichsmarks. Coffee and tea are lightweight with high value-to-weight ratios. In Venezuela, instant coffee packets literally functioned as currency units in 2018. Ammunition in common calibers like .22 LR, 9mm, and 12 gauge doesn't expire if stored properly and stays highly liquid in rural collapse scenarios. Third tier is skills and knowledge, the ultimate wealth. Medical knowledge lets you trade services. Food production skills, from gardening to hunting to preservation, create ongoing value. Practical trades like welding, carpentry, and electrical work become priceless. Communities will pay for these services. Defense and security skills have obvious value when law enforcement disappears. Fourth tier is strategic hard assets, but not precious metals. arable land with water access, livestock that reproduces and provides ongoing food, tools and equipment that create value rather than just store it. Most undervalued of all is community relationships and trust networks. Studies of disaster recovery consistently show social capital predicts survival better than financial capital. These assets enable wealth creation, unlike precious metals that only store theoretical value. Here's the fundamental mistake preppers make. They confuse wealth storage with wealth preservation. Silver stores wealth beautifully in stable systems, but silver becomes dead weight in collapsed systems. Real wealth isn't what you own. It's your ability to meet needs and create value. The data proves this across every single modern collapse. The Venezuelan grocery store owner with inventory survived better than the gold dealer with bars in his safe. The Ukrainian farmer with seeds and land outlasted the Kyiv banker with gold. The pattern stays consistent across all collapse types. Look at where we're headed right now. U.S. national debt sits at $36 trillion as of January 2026. Our debt to GDP ratio hit 123%, the highest since World War II. BRICS nations are accelerating de-dollarization faster than most analysts predicted. This suggests we're in a Type 3 collapse, that gradual decline, but it could transition into Type 2 fast. If I'm right, the consumables strategy becomes even more critical than precious metals hoarding. Let me tell you my personal strategy after 15 years studying this. I keep 1 year of food supply for my family, 10,000 gallons of water storage, plus filtration systems, $15,000 invested in trade goods like alcohol, tobacco, ammunition, and coffee. I own 40 acres with a well, livestock, and gardens. I have medical supplies for over 100-person treatments. My tool workshop runs on solar power with every hand tool I might need. I've built a community network of 12 families with complementary skills. And yes, I own 200 ounces of silver, but that represents only 5% of my total preparedness investment. The precious metals industry is worth over $200 billion. They need you to believe silver equals safety. But I've studied the data, lived through economic shocks, and prepared for the worst. When the trucks stop running, when the grid goes down, when your neighbor shows up hungry at your door, that neighbor won't want your silver. They'll want your rice, your water filter, your medical knowledge. Don't store wealth. Store the ability to create wealth. The richest person in a collapsed society isn't the one with the most gold. It's the one with the most food, the most skills, and the most trusted relationships. That's what keeps you rich when everything collapses.